Alright guys, today is a topic that we need to talk about, and it's one we don't really care to. Coming up on this video. So today we're talking about expressing emotions. I know it's something that not a lot of us are good at, nor do we really care to be. And it's a big problem, especially coming into the civilian world. A lot of our past experiences have dictated how we act today. A lot of that goes into being shut off from the world, numb, angry all the time. We're gonna get into that a little bit more later. But for now, let's just start talking about our past. So our past has shown us that expressing emotion is a sign of weakness, and that is not the case. It is not the case at all. Our experiences, our training, and even our superiors have shown us that expressing emotion is not what is always needed, especially on the battlefield. So to start off, let's talk about our experiences. I know for me anyways, by the age of 21, I experienced more in my lifetime that a lot of people will ever experience in their lifetime. That goes a lot into death. I think a lot of us can relate to this with the suicide rates being so high. Also, buddies being killed in action, and unfortunately I've had a buddy murdered in the past. All this by the age I was 21, so I was very numb to emotions already at a young age. One of the big things that goes with that is just how we cope, especially with these traumatic events, these huge experiences that not everyone experiences in their life. For me, and I know for a lot of us, it's humor. And it's pretty well known that if you're any kind of first responder, military, anything of that nature, you are pretty well versed in some dark to sick humor. And that's something that is very off-putting to the civilian world, especially with people that just don't understand what we've been through and how that helps us cope and get through what we've gone through. Another big thing that I've used in the past is, this is not healthy by any means, is going numb, just emotionless. It is something that lets you get through it in a personal time that you feel will be best later on, which inevitably that time just never comes. We just push it down further and further. When it comes back up, it explodes, or we just shove it back down further and further again. And with explosion usually comes anger. Our training has taught us that we need to be cool. We need to be level-headed. We need to be calm when it comes to these situations in combat. And we've learned to do that, but at the expense of our personal relationships, especially with our spouses, our children, our friends, and the rest of our family. It's something that when you come back to the civilian world, you need to get out of that mindset. You can still be that cool, level-headed guy you always want to be, or girl, but at the same time, when emotion needs to be expressed, it's something that you need to do. You can't just hold everything back. Now, a big influencer for me when I was in was my superiors. I looked up to them. They were role models, and they definitely showed me a lot of things. Now with that, there was also character. And with that character was that emotion and how they expressed it. They're just like our parents. We're young adults. We're still somewhat impressionable, and we learn a lot from them, especially when it comes to life and death situations. So you take a lot from them, more than what you would expect. Subconsciously, you learn how to act in ways that they act. And that can be through anger. That can be through emotionless, no sympathy, no empathy for certain things. It just really depends. But I know for me, I ended up getting a lot of that from my superiors. And it was good. It was useful when I was in. It was very advantageous to have such a mindset when you were overseas going through the throes of war. You know, it just one of those things that helped you get through your day. Now, on the civilian side, obviously, that doesn't work, just like I've been previously stating with everything else. So, let's go into our present. So I've already talked about it a little bit, talking about our past. But presently, I'm struggling. And I feel I'm not the only one. I don't wish this upon anybody, but I know I'm not the only one out there. Anger is the emotion that I rely on most. It's the real emotion that I express the most because it's the only emotion that I really have anymore. That's not true, but that's how I feel. And that's something I need to work on. I need to try and present a more happy demeanor when I have it. I need to be better at expressing it. I need to be better at expressing when I'm sad, when I'm frustrated, any of those emotions. Now, anger is not what everyone thinks it is. A lot of people just think it's mad outbursts, these guys that are freaking out, going after the guys with the stolen valor, running around on the roads, chasing them down and everything, yelling at them, screaming at them, beating them up, whatever the case may be. That's not always anger. Anger can be silent. Anger can be expressed. It can be portrayed through physical and through verbal and non-verbal communication. It can be expressed in many different ways, and it's typically what the majority of veterans go through, or a lot of veterans go through in their day-to-day lives, is trying to express themselves, and a lot of it just comes out in certain forms of anger. And that's not always good. Now, for me personally, I'm doing this, for one, is a way that I'm using to express myself in different ways other than anger. Same thing with my marriage. I'm working on my marriage as far as expressing myself better to my spouse. She deserves more than just seeing an angry person day in and day out. I do have a huge issue, and I've identified this issue, and I'd like to figure it out. For me, this is one of the most difficult things, and I'm having issues trying to get through it. It would be expressing empathy and sympathy towards people. For me, those words are just foreign. It's like speaking Mandarin to me. I do not understand them whatsoever at this point. I'm trying to bring back those emotions. I'm trying to bring back those feelings of having sympathy and empathy. These things come across the air, especially the situation we're going through right now with COVID-19. I have a hard time feeling sorry. I have a hard time feeling pain towards these people that are going through what they're going through, these families that are going through what they're going through with the loss of life. Sympathy and empathy to me are just something that have become so foreign. And I try day in and day out to gain some sympathy and empathy, be it for my family, for my friends, but mainly I try and gain it back for myself. So when you don't have sympathy and empathy, you typically look very emotionless, and that would be me to a T. I think I fairly portray a good facade, but deep down, especially for someone like my spouse who knows me very well, they can see through that facade, and they see that it's just a numb shell of a person that's left behind. I think a lot of us go through this. A lot of us have facades that show the daily world, hey, I'm alright. But deep down, we're not. Deep down, there's a lot of things going through our heads. There's a lot of things that we're feeling. We don't know how to express those feelings effectively. And a lot of this stuff, you guys already know. A lot of this stuff is not new to you. It's just like I was saying before, there's that facade. That facade is something we rely on. It's like our civilian counterpart to armor. It protects us from the outside world. It allows us to protect ourselves from any kind of vulnerability that we'd feel in the real world. Talking about vulnerability, let's get to our future selves. So there's two main things about our future selves that I feel are very present in our minds. That being vulnerability. None of us like to be vulnerable. It's a sign of weakness. It shows a chip in our armor. It's nothing that we care for. Now, the other side of that, because it is a double-edged sword, learning to express ourselves does grant us freedom. And that, above all, is something that I want for myself, is to have that freedom, to not feel like I'm hiding behind a mask, to feel that I'm able to go about my day-to-day life and not have to worry about what other people think, how other people are affecting me. It's one of those things that you just kind of have to work on. Now, the vulnerability side of it is probably the hardest. Like for me, instance, this right here, me doing what I'm doing right now. I'm putting myself at the throes of YouTube, my friends, my family, for them to critique it however they choose. They can leave comments, they can call me, they can do whatever they want, they can put whatever they want out there in respect to me, how they feel. And that can be positive and negative, and it can show some vulnerability through verbal or written communication. And that scares me. It does. It's just one of those things. It's just trying to work through it is the key piece. Because in the end, whenever we get through these things, we express our emotions, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, that is when we will get our true freedom from ourselves and allow us to live happy, productive lives. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you tuning in and listening to what I had to say. If you have anything to say about it yourselves, leave it down in the comments. I appreciate it. It gives a different point of view to other veterans if they're watching these videos, and helps everybody out in the long run. On top of that, please go watch my previous videos. I appreciate all the support that I'm getting from you guys. And as for now, peace.